I didn't walk into today expecting to say any of this, not even close. I walked in trying to do what I've always done, keep my head level, keep my emotions locked away, keep the focus on tennis and nothing else. That was the plan, that's always the plan. But somewhere between the warm-up and the last point, the plan stopped working. Not because I didn't try, I really did try. But I think I've been pretending for so long that everything feels normal, that the pressure is just motivation in disguise, that I forgot to check in with the person underneath all of that pretending. And today that person finally said, enough. I know how it looks from the outside. People see the match, the score, the mistakes, the reactions. They see a player struggling and they form opinions quickly. That's fine, that's part of sports. I've accepted that a long time ago. But what people don't see is everything happening before the first serve and after the last point. The doubt that creeps in at 2 a.m. in a hotel room in a city you can't name without checking your phone. The frustration that doesn't come from one bad shot but from 1,000 small moments of feeling like you're not quite enough. The way wanting something so badly can actually make it harder to reach, because every small mistake starts to feel like proof that you don't belong. I've always wanted to be someone who handles difficult moments with maturity. That's important to me. Representing myself, my team, my family, everyone who has supported me, that matters deeply. So when I feel emotional, my first instinct is never to show it. My first instinct is to hide it, to breathe through it, to tell myself to keep going, keep pushing, keep pretending. And most days that works, or at least it works well enough that nobody notices the cracks. But today it didn't work. I tried to breathe through it. I tried to tell myself it was just one match, just one moment, just another challenge to overcome. But everything I had been keeping inside, every expectation, every quiet disappointment, every conversation I had with myself where I said just push through, you'll be fine, started pressing against the door all at once. And eventually the door broke open. I want to be very clear about something. This isn't just about one match. The match matters, of course it matters. Every match matters when you care this much. But what I felt today was bigger than the result. It was the weight of expectations, not just from fans or media, but from myself. The pressure to improve quickly, to prove that I belong, to show everyone that I'm strong enough for this level. Most days I believe I am strong enough. But there are also days where that belief gets tested in ways that are incredibly difficult to explain. You work so hard for these moments. You train until your body feels like it might fall apart. You travel constantly, living out of suitcases, sleeping in unfamiliar beds. You miss birthdays, holidays, ordinary evenings with people you love. You give so much of yourself to this sport that sometimes you wonder if there's anything left for anything else. And when you finally step onto the court, you want all of that effort to show. You want to feel free, confident, clear. You want all the sacrifice to feel worth it. But sometimes, instead of feeling free, you feel the weight of everything you've put into it. You feel every expectation, every comment you've read, every question about what comes next, and that can make even the simplest moments feel impossibly heavy. During the match, there were points where I was trying so hard to stay present, but my mind was racing ahead of me, not in a strategic way, but in a panicked way. I was thinking about the next shot before I had even finished the current one. I was thinking about what people would say, what I should have done better, why I wasn't feeling as calm as I wanted to feel. And when that happens, when your mind starts running away from you, it becomes very hard to play naturally. You start fighting not only your opponent but also yourself. That's the part people don't always see. They see the physical battle, the running, the hitting, the visible frustration. But they don't always see the mental one. And sometimes the mental battle is the harder one because you can practice a shot thousands of times. You can prepare your body perfectly. You can study tactics until you know them in your sleep. But when emotions take over, it becomes a completely different kind of challenge. It becomes about finding yourself again in the middle of chaos. After the match, I felt disappointed, but not only because of how I played. I felt disappointed because I wanted to handle it better. I wanted to stay stronger. I wanted to walk off that court feeling like I had kept everything together, like I had been the composed, mature player I've always tried to be. And when I realized I hadn't, I started judging myself for that too. I started piling more weight on top of an already heavy load. That's something I'm still learning. Honestly, I'm learning that being emotional doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean I failed, it just means I'm human, and sometimes humans reach a point where they need to let something out. When I said, I can't take this anymore, it came from a place of exhaustion, not giving up. There is a difference between being tired and being done. I was tired, I am tired, but I'm not done. I'm not saying I don't want this life. I'm not saying I don't love this sport, because I do. I love tennis, I love competing, I love the process of getting better even when it's painful, even when it feels like nothing is working. But in that moment I felt overwhelmed by everything around it. The noise, the pressure, the expectations, the feeling that I always have to be okay even when I am not okay at all. And maybe that's why it came out the way it did. Because for a long time I've been trying to convince myself that I can handle everything quietly. I've been trying to keep moving forward without ever stopping to ask myself how I'm really doing. Today forced me to stop. It forced me to acknowledge that I need to take care of myself mentally and emotionally, not just physically. I don't have all the answers right now. I'm still processing what happened and I'm still trying to understand what I need to do differently moving forward. But I know this moment matters because it showed me something I can no longer ignore. It showed me that strength is not just about pushing through everything. Sometimes strength is being honest enough to admit when something feels too heavy. Sometimes strength is saying, I need to change something, even when you don't know exactly what that something is yet. After I had some time to step away from everything, after the noise settled and I could hear my own thoughts again, that's when I started to understand that what happened today didn't come out of nowhere. It felt sudden in the moment. It felt like an explosion. But when I look back at the last few weeks, even months, I can see the signs that I didn't fully pay attention to. There were small moments where I felt overwhelmed. Small moments where I questioned myself more than usual, and I just kept pushing through them without really stopping to process what was going on. There were matches where I walked off the court and told myself, it's okay, just move on, even when I didn't feel okay. There were practices where I felt frustrated not because I wasn't working hard enough but because I expected more from myself than I was able to give at that moment. And instead of giving myself space to breathe, I just kept going, thinking that pushing harder would fix everything. But I'm starting to realize that pushing harder without understanding what you're feeling doesn't fix anything. It only makes everything build up even more. During today's match, there was a specific moment where everything felt like it was happening too fast. I remember trying to reset between points, trying to tell myself to slow down, to breathe, to focus. But my thoughts were already 3 steps ahead of me. I wasn't just thinking about the next shot. I was thinking about the consequences of every shot. What if I miss? What if they say I'm not good enough? What if this is the moment everyone points to as proof that I don't belong? When you start thinking like that, it changes the way you play completely. You stop trusting your instincts, you hesitate on shots you've hit 10,000 times, you second-guess decisions you would normally make without even thinking. And I think that's what made it so frustrating because physically I felt ready. I had prepared, I had trained, I knew what I wanted to do, but mentally I wasn't in the same place. And that disconnect between what your body can do and what your mind will let you do is one of the hardest things to deal with in any sport. It makes you feel like you're fighting against yourself. And no matter how hard you try to fix it in the moment, it doesn't always respond the way you want it to. I also started thinking about how much I tie everything back to performance. When I play well, everything feels clear. The world makes sense, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. But when I don't play well, it feels like everything gets questioned. Not just the match, but my progress, my decisions, my confidence, my future. And I know that's not the healthiest way to think about it. I'm not blind to that. But it's something I'm still working through because when you care this much, it's very hard to separate who you are from how you perform. There's also the reality of being in this position where people are watching, expecting, analyzing. And again, I'm grateful for that. I don't take that for granted at all. But it does add a layer of pressure that is always there even when you try to ignore it. You want to meet those expectations. You want to show that you deserve to be here. You want to prove that all the faith people have placed in you is justified. And sometimes that pressure turns into something internal that you carry into every match, every practice, every morning you wake up and think about what you need to do today. What hit me today was realizing that I haven't been giving myself enough space to deal with that. I've been trying to be strong in a way that doesn't allow me to actually feel what I'm going through. I've been treating my emotions like something to overcome rather than something to understand. And when you keep doing that, the emotions don't disappear. They don't just go away because you ignored them. They wait, they gather, they grow. And then they find a moment, like today, where everything comes out at once, whether you're ready or not. After the match, when I sat down and everything started to settle, I wasn't just thinking about the mistakes or the result. I was thinking about how I've been handling everything lately. And I had to be honest with myself. I had to admit that I've been putting too much pressure on myself without balancing it with anything that helps me recover mentally. I've been focused on improvement, on progress, on results, but not enough on how I'm actually feeling through all of it. And that's something I need to change. Not because I want things to be easier. I don't need easy, that's not why I do this. I want to be better not just as a player but as a person. I want to be strong on the court, but I also want to feel stable off it. I want to be able to handle tough moments without feeling like everything is building up inside me like a pressure cooker. I want to compete with everything I have, and then walk away from the court still feeling like myself, not like a broken version of who I am. I don't see today as something negative, even though it was difficult. I think it was a wake-up moment for me. It showed me that I can't ignore this side of the game anymore. I can't just focus on improving technically or physically without also taking care of what's happening mentally and emotionally. And I think that's the part people don't always talk about enough. Everyone talks about training, about strategy, about performance. But this side, the mental side, the emotional side, is just as important. And it's not something you fix overnight. It takes time, it takes awareness, and it takes being honest with yourself even when it's deeply uncomfortable. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning how to manage everything in a way that works for me. But I know that pretending everything is fine when it's not isn't the answer. Today made that very clear. So when I said I couldn't take it anymore, it wasn't about giving up. It was about reaching a point where I realized something needed to change. And I think recognizing that is the first step toward actually moving forward in a better way. I think what I'm starting to understand now is that moments like today don't mean you're failing. Even though it can feel like that in the moment, and believe me it does, it's easy to walk off the court and think, I should have handled that better, or I shouldn't have let it get to me like that. I've had those thoughts already and I'm sure I'll have them again. But the more I sit with it, the more I realize that this is part of growing, even if it's not the kind of growth you expect or want to go through publicly. Because that's another part of this that's not easy. Everything happens in front of people. The good moments, the wins, the progress, the celebrations. But also the tough ones, the emotional ones, the messy ones, the ones where you don't feel like yourself at all. And you don't always get the choice to go through those privately. So you learn to deal with that too. You learn that sometimes your most difficult moments are also your most visible ones, and you have to find a way to move forward anyway. Even when you feel completely exposed. I've always believed that being strong meant staying composed, keeping everything together no matter what. And I still believe composure is important. I'm not throwing that away. But I'm starting to see that strength can also mean being honest, even when it's uncomfortable. It can mean admitting that something affected you, that something felt too heavy, and that you need to adjust your approach instead of just pushing through it the same way you always have. What I felt today doesn't change how much I care about this sport. If anything, it reminds me how much it means to me, because you don't reach that point of emotion if you don't care deeply. You don't feel that level of frustration or pressure if you're not invested in getting better, in proving something to yourself. And I think that's something I need to hold on to instead of only focusing on the difficult part of it. At the same time, I know I need to approach things differently moving forward. Not in terms of effort, I'm always going to give everything I have. That will never change, but in terms of balance, I need to find a way to compete hard without carrying everything all at once. I need to give myself room to breathe, to process, to reset properly, instead of just moving on quickly and stacking everything on top of each other until the pile collapses. I've talked to my team about this, and that's something we're going to work on together. Not just the technical side of my game, but everything around it. Because being a complete player isn't just about how you hit the ball. It's about how you handle the moments when things don't go your way. It's about how you recover mentally from a bad loss or even from a bad game within a match. It's about how you keep your confidence steady when results aren't exactly what you want them to be. To the fans, I just want to say thank you. I know today wasn't easy to watch, it wasn't easy for me either, but I've seen the support, the messages, the understanding, the people who reminded me that I'm human before I'm an athlete. It really does mean a lot more than I can probably express right now. At the same time, I want people to understand that this is part of the journey. It's not always going to look perfect. There are going to be moments where things feel messy, chaotic, unplanned. Moments where things fall apart a little bit, but that doesn't mean I'm not moving forward. And I also want to be clear that this isn't me stepping back or losing belief. If anything, it's the opposite. It's me recognizing what I need to work on so I can come back stronger, not just as a player but as a person who can handle everything that comes with this level. Because I know I belong here, I believe that. But believing that also means taking responsibility for every part of the process, not just the parts that are easy to show, but the parts that are messy and difficult and uncomfortable. I don't expect everything to change overnight. I know this is something that's going to take time and I'm okay with that. I'm willing to go through that process even if it's uncomfortable because I know it's necessary. And I think today was a step in that direction even if it didn't feel like it in the moment. Even if it felt like a step backward. Sometimes stepping backward is just repositioning yourself so you can move forward more effectively. So when I said I couldn't take it anymore, it wasn't the end of something. It was more like a turning point. A moment where I realized I can't keep doing things the same way if I want to keep growing. And sometimes those moments don't come in a perfect, polished form. Sometimes they come when everything feels overwhelming, when emotions spill out whether you want them to or not, when you're forced to face something you've been avoiding for a long time. But now that I've faced it, I feel like I can move forward with more clarity. Not because everything is solved, it's not. Not because I have a perfect plan, I don't. But because I'm more aware of what I need to do, I'm more aware of what I've been ignoring. And that awareness gives me a sense of direction again, even after a day that felt completely uncertain. At the end of the day, I'm still here, I'm still competing, I'm still learning. I'm still pushing myself even when it hurts, even when it's messy, even when I wish I could just hide in a dark room and not talk to anyone for a week. I'm still here, and I think that's what matters most. This is just one moment in a much longer journey, one difficult, emotional, exhausting moment, but it's not the whole story, it's just a chapter, and I'm not going to let it define me, I'm going to use it. I'm going to learn from it, and then I'm going to keep moving forward.